Hey everybody, I thought I'd do a little video. I just recently changed my sensor for my continuous glucose monitor, and I have some tips for how to make it more accurate and better, or at least I'm not an expert, but at least it will be, at least this is my experience. So the first thing, when I first started using them, they were highly, highly inaccurate, like 30, 40 points inaccurate. So I was getting constant notices that my blood sugar was too low, and it wasn't. And then I would get, basically, they were just monitoring everything super low. And then I got one that was monitoring everything super high. And if you call they have a customer service number, and if you call them and you tell them that this stuff is not working right, they will send you a new one for free that you can swap out for. So, and I will tell you this, when you just put them on for the first time, they are hard to get off. I had to try to take one off for a scan I had to do, and I couldn't get it off because I had just put it on the day before. Anyway, so if you have one that's wildly inaccurate, call the phone number, and then they will ask you some questions, and then they'll send you out a new one. Okay, so that was really nice, and they've actually been pretty good about that. So, still, even with the ones that were kind of working, they still, like, I kind of felt like they were inaccurate enough that it wasn't really helpful, right? If my sugar is a little bit high, it doesn't help me for them to report that it's in a normal range. So I just, I learned as I did some research to try to figure out how to make this better, work a little bit better for me. I learned that the glucose monitors you should not be using to determine whether your blood sugar is high or low, as far as if it's like in an emergency situation, or if you have a really high sensitivity and you have to know exactly what it is, this isn't a good tool. What it is good for is to give you trends. So you can, like, if you eat something, you can see if it spikes up and how fast it goes down, that sort of stuff. It's really good for that. And for people like me, which I'm diabetic, but I'm not, it's kind of in control, basically. So for me, my lows aren't that low and my highs aren't that high. Like, most of the time, unless I go eat something that I really ought not to eat, they don't really go. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen anything that even got close to 200. So mine's really in control, and so I think for me it's good because I can kind of see what's happening with the trend, right? So that's where it's kind of powerful, and it kind of gives you an idea of how what you eat is impacting you as far as your blood sugar. So really good information to know, and it was also very helpful because I was getting kind of mad. I was like, why doesn't this work better? So the big thing is to understand is that the sensor tests your interstitial fluid, which, like, I have to look that up. I don't really know what that means, but I do know that it's not blood. So it's like what's going through under your skin as opposed to in your veins, right? So it's going to be different. So the next thing I learned was that when I test with the sensor, and if I get a kind of a wonky reading where I'm like, I need to know if this is a high or low, or what this is. If you want to kind of calibrate and see where this sensor is with your blood, you need to do the sensor reading, or you do the finger stick first, and then wait 5 to 10 minutes, and then do the sensor reading. Because what that does is it allows the interstitial fluid enough time to catch up. So it's like, think of it like a delay. So when the blood, it instantly, like when your sugar goes up, you eat something, your sugar goes up, your blood's going to see it first, and then it gets pushed out to the interstitial fluid after that. So, you know, the blood is always going to be the more accurate reading, but give it 10 minutes and then do the sensor reading. And they should be pretty close. Like, they should be within just a couple of points of each other, which has been my experience. Okay, so that was also a really important thing to know. The next thing is kind of, I don't know if it's controversial or not, but like if you call up to the place, the customer service, and I had I think the first 4 sensors I had were just inaccurate. They were just, so they had to send me, they sent me 2 or 3 more, like, I don't know, it was like one at a time. At any rate, I called him up and I said, listen, you know, I saw this thing on the internet, which is true, that said if you have a lot of fat, like an excessive amount of fat under the skin, where you put it behind in the back of your arm, that it could impact your readings, which makes sense, you know, to me. You know, it wouldn't be the first time being a bigger person impacts, you know, a test result or something. Anyway, so what they said is, no, we are only FDA approved to put it on the back of your arm. So they will not tell you that you can put it anywhere else. And so I didn't think about it. I didn't think that you could put it anywhere else. Well, when I started doing a little bit of research on other people's experiences, there's a whole bunch of people, they just put it wherever they want, basically. I mean, there are people putting it in their thighs. One person put it on their inner thigh, which I can't imagine something being more uncomfortable. But, you know, I guess to them, that worked out for them. Some people put it on, they say their muffin top. Some people put it on their back. Some people put it on their shoulder. Some people put it somewhere, I couldn't figure out what they were talking about, but they put it on their chest somewhere. Some people put it on their belly. Now, what I read was you don't, it might depend on the particular sensor that you have, but maybe the belly is not the best place for at least these Libre 2 ones. I can't speak to any other kind. This is the only kind I've ever used. Well, anyway, so you can put them anywhere you want. The trick is that you don't want to put it anywhere that it's going to go into the muscle. So if there's not a decent amount of subcutaneous fat before you hit the muscle, that's probably not a good place. So like on me, like right here, it would be a bad place because it's like, it goes right to the muscle. But like down here a little bit, even on the front of my arm, there's a good amount of flab there, but it's far less than in the back of my arm. So I saw a thing on the internet and it said, and I don't know where, and it wasn't scholarly, so, you know, don't quote me, but it suggested that if you have too much fat on the back of your arms, it would impact your readings. And so, you know, the first 4 sensors I didn't have good readings. Even when I got it to where it was sort of reasonable, it wasn't like wildly inaccurate. It was still pretty inaccurate, like more than I thought it would be. So I decided to try it, right? So I learned a trick though. So 2 things. Once you figure out where you want to try it, a lot of people really liked the top of their upper thigh or the side. A lot of people really liked if you have a body that is slim enough to have like a muffin top. I have like, I don't know, like I have way more than a muffin top. So I don't think that would be a good choice for me. But if you are so inclined, a lot of people had a lot of luck with the muffin top, the top of the thigh, and then a lot of people like the outside of their arm instead of the back of their arm. So that was just some things. So I encourage you to do your own search and figure out, you know, what works best for you. But if you want to be a little bit rogue about it, you can put your sensor wherever you want. So what I decided to do, it made me kind of uncomfortable, but I was like, you know what, let me see what happens. So I did find a couple spots on my arms that made sense. And so I tried it. And let me tell you, the accuracy is way better, way better. So like this morning I put a new sensor on. Oh, that's another tip. But I put a new sensor on this morning, and I did a stick test, and I scanned it with the sensor, and it was only like 2 or 3 points apart, which that's really good for what I usually do. So, and I did the thing where I put it in a less flabby part of my arm, and then I did this finger stick, and then I waited 10 minutes, and then I did the sensor scan. Now, as most of you know who've done this, and maybe some of you don't know this, but when you first put the sensor on, it takes an hour for it to kind of do its thing and calibrate, and then you have to wait, I think it's like 12 or 13 hours, or they say like a day, 24 hours, before it is accurate. So it's kind of a pain because you take off the old one, you put the new one on, you got to wait an hour for it to calibrate, and then when you do scan it, you have to test with a finger prick every single time for the first like 24 hours. It might be like more like 12 or 13 hours, but either way, they say just expect it to be inaccurate for the first 24 hours. Well, that's a long time to not know what your blood sugar's doing for some of us. So I also learned on the internet, these internets have some tips. What I also learned on the internet is that if you put the new sensor on 24 hours before you're planning to take the old sensor off, it allows, I guess the filament that goes into your arm has to like marinate and it probably gets soaked up in, I don't know, whatever it has to do. It doesn't need to be like activated by the scanner to do whatever it needs to do. So the tip was to put it on the new sensor 24 hours before you take the old sensor off. Continue to use the old sensor, and then once the new one has been on your arm 24 hours, then go ahead and scan it. So you wouldn't scan it up to this point. Go ahead and scan the new scanner after 24 hours, and then you can go ahead and take the old one off, and that will increase the accuracy from when you first activate it. And that is true, because today when I did that, it's the second time I did it, and this is the second time that it has been way more accurate from the beginning. So and like I said this morning, when I put it wasn't even 24 hours. I put the new sensor on probably like at, I don't know, it was like, I don't remember what time it was, like maybe around 1 or 2. And then this morning I scanned the new one in. Well, first I scanned the old one to get whatever it stored overnight, and then I scanned the new one, and it, you know, I did the whole rigmarole to set up the new one, and then I took the old one off. And then after the hour, I scanned it, and then I did a finger stick and scanned it again, and it was only a few apart. So that was a really good tip too. So I feel like I have, twice now I've tried it and it worked. And so I feel like now I have a more continuous, there's not like a day where I have these wildly inaccurate readings and then it kind of chills out and then gets more accurate. Because it's already been there for 24 hours, it's closer. So it might be like a tiny bit inaccurate. It might get better a little bit over a day or two, because that's what it just seems like to me. But now it's much closer. So that's kind of nice too. And I think it gives you a better, the graph that you get out of it is a lot more accurate and better. So anyway, so I just wanted to share those things with you guys. Thanks for listening to anyone who does. Good luck with your continuous glucose monitor, and I don't know, maybe I'll do a video about this Mounjaro stuff, because I learned some stuff about it recently that is probably really good to know for some people who are getting started with it. Okay, anyway, have a great day.